54, Annette. We'll be reconvened. All right. So first of all, could we have everybody introduce themselves so everybody kind of knows what role and what part everybody has here within the city, the council, and the planning commission?
Where would you like to start?
Go ahead.
I'll start. Lauren Gardner, I'm the city engineer.
Nicole Nancaro, I'm the planning commissioner.
Rob Scott, planning director.
John Call, city manager.
Kevin Burns, nosy citizen.
Next citizen.
Scott Casey, citizen. Bill Barozzi, mayor. Evan Nelson, finance director. Sean White, planning commission.
Eric Thomas,
Charlotte Ekstrom, City Council.
Blake Severing, City Council.
Charles Stumper, City Council.
Ryan Barker, City Council.
I'm Jake with the team over here working on the big complex.
Jake, what's your last name?
Thomas.
Steve Davies, I'm with the team here. Jack Barrett, developer.
Don Barrett, owner and developer as well. Yes.
Let me take that.
Okay, I don't know if I have it now. Okay, thank you.
Sure that, yeah.
Oh, love to. Thank you.
Appreciate you showing up.
Okay, so if we could have everybody start on the left. The building that was designed for what we call the ILF location in the back. We call it the island, if you will. It's surrounded by the 55 and older. This is a 55 and older for sale product here that we're looking at. Tell you a little inspiration here. When Grace Hancock passed, maybe some of you don't know, weren't here. Mountain Vista Trails acquired her ground, and although we were really heavy on multifamily over here, knee deep in that, she actually passed away 3 or 4 days before our final approval here. And I didn't know that. I didn't find that out till 4 hours before our final approval on this ground, what that meant is we needed to acquire this ground, then needed to be added into this master plan per a road that was planned to go through that later got snuffed out. But anyway, so when we came over here on the Grace Hancock side, we've been solely focused on the multifamily, but what we saw is an opportunity to create a for sale product. One of our goals all along, and some of you may not know this, but we started Mystery Meadows all the way to the very, very back, nearly a mile back. And the single family was very successful. Then we moved on, got the zoning for the assisted living, memory care, independent living there. That inspired us some pretty provoking thoughts when it came to this ground over here. This thing closed in 15 and opened here, last June? And we've watched this. We've watched the 55 and older just sprout up. Lori's not here. I don't have her current stats. I know the townhomes are about 70% sold out. I'm sorry, I don't remember the 55 and older. I think it's somewhere around 50% sold out. And so, if you recall, if any of you folks have looked at the amendment that was provided when the Grace Hancock parcel was added to the multifamily, you'll see in the very back there that the ILF actually was given an approval for, number one, we didn't want any age restriction, because what we were concerned about in an independent living situation is we want to leave it open to anybody, man, woman, young woman, older person, somebody that maybe has some disabilities. We want to leave that completely wide open age bracket wise. What we found when we did that, what we didn't know is there's some state and federal laws that says they don't really care if you want to call it 55 and older, you want to restrict it age-wise. If somebody wants to live there, you can't restrict them from moving in. In fact, we have a special needs person that actually bought in the 55 and older, and they're not 55. That we welcome. So in the 55 and older back there, one of the things that happened is as we're traveling through and learning about what's going on back there with the 55 and older patios, we're seeing the 55 and older rental market move in. We thought about doing that. We decided that, you know what, we're going to create a for sale product and take that for sale portion, if you will, out of the entitlements, and we're going to utilize that on this site right here. And so we're calling it a 55 and older, just like we're doing the 55 and older patios. Jake and his company, he's got a real healthy background in development, and Steve Davies Design Build is his builder. We've invited them here tonight to show you that these guys are in contract. They're ready to get going on that, to finalize the architectural, etc., and move that along. When we started looking at the 55 and older back there, one of our thoughts is, well, what about a 55 and older rental product? And obviously you've only got so much ground back there. And one of the things we thought about is, well, what if we moved a rental product out here? Because in my mind, the 55 and older rental, what you're really doing in some ways is as you can imagine, any multifamily building, any apartment building, there's a certain age bracket of every single category that you could possibly think of. And in our mind, we were thinking, well, what if we put a larger massing building up here and accommodate a 55 and older product? It's a fast growing market. There's a need here, and you're hearing more and more about that. And so, and what we're really doing, guys, is we're really playing off the assisted living, frankly. They've got the three types of housing and then you've got the 55 and older patios that are going to be sold out before you know it. And we're going to need another product group that's going to cast a better, broader market to just a price point with the 55 and older in the condos that we can't achieve somewhere else in, say, a patio type situation. Sorry, this thing is really hard to breathe in. So anyway, the reason we invited you guys here is because, number one, the building you see right here is, just to be clear, that is a 55 and older for sale product that we're looking at. And is there any questions I can answer, first of all, on that particular product back there right now? Units, parking density, anything?
So Jack, what we're talking about is this is the idea for the existing ILF site.
Right.
Okay? So I just wanted you to be all very clear about.
This isn't for right here.
No.
This is at the original site, but it's not a rental. It's going to be like
For sale.
condos.
Yep.
Yeah, we thought, it would be in an area that is a for sale product, so you're kind of segregating them a little bit, in the areas in which they kind of use. And so we thought a 55 and older for sale product might be really complementary to the already for sale products back
The
there.
55 and older patios.
I have a question about the parking.
Sure.
So is street parking included in the number of stalls over there, or is that patio homes that you're,
Okay.
this over here? Are they patio homes, or are they,
No, do you have a packet there?
there's these two. So it's the condos and the apartments. So my question was, how much of the parking is street parking classified as the number of parking stalls?
Well, look, the mayor brought up a couple good points. He said, look, if there's any way, I'm going to paraphrase, you can create some green space, we'd like that. And so our parking ratio back there right now, so here are the stats that are probably important for everybody. So first of all, it's approved for 68 units. It was approved for 40 feet on the western portion of the building, say 25-30% of that building is the way we were thinking at the time. 50 feet high at the east end. One stall, one parking stall per unit, so 1-to-1 ratio. And at that time we had carports and we had open parking at that time. What we're contemplating now is actually going subterranean, because what we want to do and take this right, that we want to create kind of a classy environment, frankly. We want to kind of raise the level of play here a bit, and we think that an underground parking scenario for the 55 and older, typically that group, you know, they're a lot of them are empty nesters, etc. They're wanting to scale back, and yet they want some amenities type thing. And so the idea there is that Jake would build that'd be his project, just to be really clear on this, that'd be his project. The parking ratio that we have right now, we're actually really fat back there, honestly. We're probably at a 1.5% parking ratio. It's heavy in parking. It's over the 1.0. The thing subterranean right now in our density we're currently contemplating would actually park at a 1-to-1 underneath the building, just to kind of give you an idea. So that means that any parking space, this is going to be up to, this is our discussion here really, because I want to go ahead and get some feedback from you folks, because when Mayor Berube talked about creating some more green space, that was a real hot button with me. I want you to do something for me, if you would, right now, and pull open that photo. You're probably saying, where the heck is that from? You see a city, a big monster green belt, and then you see the mountains in the background. It's on your left side. That's my hometown, Anchorage, Alaska. I used to play on that green belt. That's where I go with my buddies. We'd ride downtown. That's what we call the park strip, the Anchorage Park Strip. It was a big deal. We had a great time down there. This is what inspired this green belt here, this view here. If you'll open up, so you can see the green. Anyway, that was the inspiration there. If you take a look, take a look at pull the site map out. I want to give you guys an idea of what we've done to create more green, because it's a big deal. If kind of put this into perspective, the green belt to me is like beachfront in California. There's not too many projects you'll ever see like this around here, even on the Wasatch Front. And so if you take a look at your map there, what we've done is a comparison, and we've implemented some buildings in here, just traced. By the way, this is real, down home basic, guys. We just did some tracing there. And if you look up front, you'll see Silverton Quarter, 55 plus and older. That building is potentially a twin to the building in the back that is contemplated, that you saw in what we call the original ILF site, the site that Jake is going to be building on. And so if you look at that, you'll see kind of what we're thinking in concept. When you think about the aged housing, and you think about the opportunities that you have to service these people, what we looked at is how can we make this project better? The mayor kind of got me, I was already thinking about a number of concepts here, but one of them could we bring, would it be acceptable, would people rise to the occasion and say, yeah, we'd favor that? Could we put say an L-shaped building here and replace, if you look at all these 8 buildings here along 1700 North, if you note there on 1700 North, there's 8 buildings there. They would actually come out. What we propose is putting a 55 and older for rent product right here. And one of the reasons we thought about keeping the for rent product here is we want to keep the same ownership. Not to be greedy or anything like that, but our concept was always to own and control as much as we can. And so the other thing we thought of is, when we were looking at this, is we were thinking to ourselves, well now, hold on, we've got 55 and older, we've got assisted living back there, it's got 3 stages of types of housing, we've got the 55 and older patios, we have the 55 and older for sale condo. We're only really missing one thing, and that was a 62 and older. Some places call themselves independent living facilities. It is what we originally, the name of what we actually called it, the approval didn't say it was, but the namesake was. In other words, a true ILF is really more of like a 62 to 65 and older, and you'll have all the amenities tucked in that building. And the one thing that is a segregation right now that you'll find with the age housing is the 62 and older and the ILF, if you will, the elderly set, they don't want to share their amenities. They're a little bit closed. And so those folks would not share the clubhouse. It would be about right here. You're about sitting right in front of it right now. And so one of the thoughts we had was, well, what if we completed the circle of housing altogether, would the community, what would the response be? Is that a good thing? Would people like that? Because at the same time, we're completing the circle of life, if you will, with housing. But the other thing we're doing is every time we park underneath, which both these buildings that you're looking at would have subterranean parking. We'd still follow the basic same entitlements that we got in the back there, probably exceed the parking. But again, parking's a mixed bag. You have surface parking, you're taking up green. If I look back there right now at the original ILF site, and I look at that parking out there, there's probably, I'm gonna guess, somewhere around 20 spaces that could become green. That's important to me. We like it. It's important to us. We like that. If you look over here on your left of on the site plan here, look how the road used to go through here. Notice that road's been taken out. Green is important to us because that's what's going to keep people here. Because you're not going to find this kind of green belt along the entire Wasatch Front. We did a lot of homework on this. You're just not going to find it. It doesn't exist. And so, if you look over here now to your right, look at how that site plan has changed. Look how much more green is there. Now we've not done anything, but we've taken this road out right here. And what we've done is we've scaled these buildings. They're going to go vertical. They're going to be higher. One of the issues we also had when we were getting our approvals is I remember a lot of getting a lot of whiplash on 1700 North on overnight parking. Used to be in the snow and ice control business. I get it. It's hard for the maintenance crews to do their business, and especially people, the younger set, are maybe having sleepovers and things like that. There was a big deal there. And one of the things you're going to find with an older housing set going along here, probably not going to find too many sleepovers at night, I'm going to guess. Right? Okay? It's a pretty docile group. In fact, most of the ILF set don't even, probably 70% of the units, I think 70% need vehicles. So it's like a 0.70 nationwide actually need parking for their unit. So one of the things that we thought about is now you're taking also some height. You're making this project stand out right now, I'll tell you that. Because this right here, this is approved for 51 foot max height. So that's the other thing you can do. You can start to put some money in the architecture on the buildings where the people can afford it, but they're also they're a more financially stable set. And so what you're finding is you're going to keep people in your community. And that was one of our big deals from the very, very beginning, is how do we keep people, North Ogdens, in the community? Because there wasn't the housing type zoning that would allow people to have to like first time home buyer. But we've accomplished that back there.
Jack, how high are you anticipating this to
So
go?
right here, I want to have a discussion about that because it's zoned for 51 feet high. Now, we want to be a good workable neighbor. Mayor, the first thing you did is you said, hey, we want to know this, and hey, when's the creek, and hey, when are you guys going to get going? And geez, wow, that's the height and the fire truck discussion we had, if you recall. I think we satisfied quite a few of those. But what we want to know is, look, a lot of the people that are in this room in this site right now, we're not even here for the approval. So we're all going based on what was written. But what was written back then, I'm sitting here coming to you today after the multifamily and everything else that we went through, and I'm going, wow, I think there might be another idea here we need to consider.
So how high do you need to go
Yeah,
to
how high
accommodate
So,
this?
I can go 51 feet high. What's that?
I think the building we're proposing would be a 4-story building
Yeah.
with an underground parking on the bottom, so a podium type building. The basic there, we assume that we can save 127-ish surface parking stalls, which gives us about 1.25 acres extra green space.
Okay, so how
So we'd be
high
about
are the
50
4
feet,
stories?
51 feet.
He's telling you 50, 51 feet.
14 feet on the main floor and 3 12s. It's going to run right close to 50 feet. So it's like
Jack, I think, refresh my memory, but the approved back there that's already been approved is 50 feet on one, and then it slopes down
Yeah, it goes to 40. Yeah.
to 40. And as I expressed, we just turned down a project across the street here that wanted to go 4 stories because we don't have the equipment to keep residents safe if there's a fire. you responded to that in a way.
Yes, so yeah, I have two responses. First of all, with respect to our conversation, what we thought we might do back here is lower it a little bit, just so you know. Okay, we thought we'd lower that, maybe to say 3-story to accommodate. That's the first thing, and lower that density back there. First time you guys have ever heard that come out of my mouth. Secondly, back here on the front and potentially 62 and older. 62 and older was really, I'm a little further back in the conceptual side there, just so everybody understands, because the site that you looked at in the back was concrete tilt up. So one of the nice things about concrete tilt up is you're going to have a hard time starting a fire. And so that takes care of some of the issues, if you will, with the fire truck.
I just want to make you aware that that's an issue that we've been addressing.
Yeah.
So all these buildings though that you're talking about, are they the 4 stories? You're looking at doing all of them 4 stories?
2 buildings.
We'd be talking 2 buildings.
Would be the 4 stories?
Right here, and it'd be the 55 and older and the 62.
Because I mean the green looks nice, but it's right in between the 2 buildings, so it almost feels like yards for those, accessible for those buildings.
I'm not sure I understood.
But I like all the green. It looks nice. I was just wondering. It seems almost though like it services these 2 buildings. It feels like.
Oh, you mean the hand-drawn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the buildings look the same would be
No, I know. I'm just talking how we were talking about the green space, and I think that's great. But it looks almost as though it's just simply yards for these rows of buildings.
the new green space would be on that.
Yeah, I think, and that would be the same thinking on the buildings on the sides of the green. But
The choice, I guess, to answer that would be, do we split the green spaces up in little patches between the buildings, or do we kind of put it in a unit where you can play and run and fly a kite, that type of thing? But to the mayor's point, I think we recognize that that's pushing the height on these 2 buildings, but we're hoping that the offsetting green space might be able to make up for it.
You got to remember the parking that we have right now currently with the multifamily is a 2, not quite 2, it's actually I think 1.98, somebody correct me on that. But with the 55 and older, I think we've got that. I just paired it up with what we had back here, which is 1.5. And the 62 and older, I'm going to argue with the city all day long. You don't need 1-to-1 on ILF. You go back here, I just checked their ratios today. Do you realize, guys, you've got so much asphalt back there. I would say, look, let me use the national statistic of ILF and let me do the 0.70. We'll park it underneath. We'll do subterranean, which won't quite park at all. But what it does do is eliminates very, very little. It eliminates a lot of the surface parking. Okay. But the other thing we need to really look at here is what's more important to us, having a bunch of blacktop that they said they use it like every 3 months. They have like promotional deals. And that's it. It sits there. You can drive around it right now. And and I'm not here to argue it. I'm just saying consider it. Consider using the national averages, which is 0.70 per unit for parking. A lot of people just flat don't drive. Sure.
Jack, will you clarify something for me? When you talk about subterranean parking, are we talking underground, or are we talking on the main level?
No,
of the
underground.
building? This is kind of traditionally over the years, because I used to pheasant hunt on this area. This has traditionally been kind of a high water table.
Yeah, obviously that needs to be taken into account. We've dealt with that a number of times before, and it can be done. You're going to have to bring your floor level up a little bit. We're about 12 feet in the basement. We understand.
You can also create a bath around the bottom. It's been done.
So you guys, I know you didn't run into any problems with water.
No. No, we wouldn't be proposing this if we thought that was a major issue.
We found as we've developed a lot of the high water table comes from irrigation, that type of thing. As it fills in, the irrigation goes away and the water table gets used. But obviously you're going to need hydraulic engineers to make sure it's going to be.
I have 2 questions. So I'm on the general steering committee, and we've been talking a lot about affordable housing, and especially, when you have more high density coming in, and whether we like it or not, this is still pretty, I don't want to say high price, justly, it's what the market is, but it's not affordable. So have you taken that into account with building more things, if it's going to be in that range? Because that tilts how we have to be certain lawmakers, things they put in place.
So, okay, so years ago, we came to the city and said, hey, we've got, HUD as a financing arm. They went, whoa, 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 we don't want low-income affordable housing on that project. Because, and take this right, the project they were referring to is down in Pleasant View, and I'm sorry, I don't know what street, but it was clean, but it was just very bland, right? And they didn't like, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
The city wasn't too warm to that. I'd consider doing it in other parts of somewhere else, no problem. I can't do it here though.
Not here.
We got shot down. That was a very cold reception for us.
My second question is, so this is still MPC zoned, right?
Correct.
And we had 8 amendments made on over here. Is there a way to make sure that we're not having amendments made to dissipate the green space or any of that kind of stuff that you'd be willing to meet to make sure that we're a little bit more?
So here's what we have right now in the development agreement. And this is one of the things we look at, because we know there's a scorecard out there. I mean, seriously, there's a scorecard. It's called the 3 big ones were, and if anybody's in the room that was living some of that fun stuff with us, it was density, it was parking ratio, it was let's see, building height, green space,
the finishes.
Yeah, the finishes. And so I can tell you right now, I don't even have the guts to come to you guys with something that's not going to fit. I mean, let's put it this way. If you guys can't see a win-win by bringing aged housing in here and eating up, 135, 136 units, then we'll kill it. We'll just do what we're doing. I mean, we think this is a positive. We think you guys have an issue right now. The city has an issue right now, candidly, for having zoning out there that allows for the height, but then now we're told, hold on, you're going to have a fire truck issue. Well, hold on, we were given that approval, whatever it was, back in, first one 15, then we amended it, I think, John, in the first 4 weeks we had an amendment because there was some minor changes. So that was, but we're not here to argue that. We want to be good citizens. We want to help.
Hey, Jack?
Yeah.
Talk about the number of units that have been approved versus the number of units residents that would be involved in these.
So,
because we also know we have not just road infrastructure issues, we have other issues.
Okay, what
number of units?
So it depends on the height that we're all good with here. It's going to depend on what type of aged housing we do and how you guys are going to calculate the density. We could be in a range from anywhere from 40 additional units to, it could be as high as 75 units, especially when you're dealing with independent living, but it's a different type of product. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to drive a moped, but I'm going to jump in a current. I'm going to call them the same form of transportation. They're just not. And so what you have to look at, and Steve brought this up, you can comment if you want, Steve, but somebody said, well, have you ever just calculated the number of beds, Jack? Because you got a bunch of these ILF units, as an example, that'll be studios. And a lot of these people just flat don't drive. They're not taxing, they don't have that socioeconomic footprint, if you will, on this ground that say a 3-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment is going to have. And they're going to be a pretty docile crew. You're probably not going to be getting calls, fire department, somebody's burning down the back deck, I'm going to guess. But anyway, so that, there's a range. We have not refined that. We want to hit the very first things first, which is, hey, conceptually, how are we looking on our elevations? How are we looking for the community? Is this a value add to the community? Is this creation of keeping, kind of finishing the circle of life, if you will, in not only the demographic, but the housing need?
So just to clarify, right now, you have approval to go up to 50 feet or 51 feet on the building back there. On one end, sloping down on the
Right.
other end.
Right.
This is the issue right here, because you don't have zoning to go that high here.
Yeah, we do. We have 51 feet high here.
Here?
Yes. Yes.
The original plan on those apartments was 3 stories.
Yeah, but what happens is you've got the loft, and just to be clear here, you're depending on how John's measuring, but if you're going to the crest of the roof, you're 51, and that was disclosed in the drawings.
So John, that is zoned here, even though it was a different type of.
It's a specific building. It's a 3-story building with the end cap having a 4th story walk up.
About the new portion. This originally wasn't a tall building here, right?
It had the majority of the building was 3-story, and then the end was a 5-story or a 4-story.
Here, on this piece.
So it wasn't a flat roof 51 foot. It was, the end cap was 51 feet, and then it stepped down based on the elevations that were approved.
So taller fits here better than back here. I mean, these four single-story
We're
homes
talking
are
about
just
both,
having.
So I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I just said the taller to me makes more sense here. I mean, these are just cutting off all those single-story home views.
That car wash over there, I believe, is 36 feet high. Just to give you an idea.
Yeah, well, I know. I'm saying, you know, the closer you get to something,
Right.
you know, so that's a lot closer to the single-story homes. That's what I was saying. I think the taller makes sense here.
And that's kind of what we were thinking, putting it out onto Washington, kind of being that buffer and being a beautiful building too. That
But
would
still
be.
wanting to do the one back there.
Yeah, but it's going to come down though, Mayor. We're gonna drop that height down.
Just
That's what
wanted to
we're
clarify.
proposing.
Will dropping the height down reduce the number of units?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
to 62.
That's what we're proposing. So can we just pause for just 1 second? We need to look on the right, if you will, and take a look at some of these building types. These building types just want a kind of a knee-jerk of, hey, it's good, bad, and different. You've got all these building types that you see here are for this upfront 55 and older. I do not have any schematics. I don't have any elevations for you for the 62 and older. That was kind of when you threw that out the other day, Mary, said, what is the rest of this, what other changes would you want to envision? They would just, this would be it. That 62 and older would be it. Because we did not have the density to do that particular product that we're talking about in the very back. We have to keep all these amenities in-house. So take a look at some of these these building elevations and tell me if you guys can envision something like this up front or not.